bossa nova. Then the song sticks in my head. Playing it on instead of bossa nova, playing it on
What's up, guys? We are going to do a hot seat live analysis of a property that somebody in the solo house flipper community is looking to buy. He's already made an offer for $16,000, and we're waiting for a response. Unless he hits me in the comments right now and says he's already gotten his response. And guys, ask questions if you have them. I got the comments pulled up, and so let me know what you guys are thinking here, and I can answer that question on the spot. Okay. I have an array of different things pulled up here, so excuse me if I mess anything up. Here we go. So I'm going to start right here. He has submitted an offer for this house flip. He believes that the ARV is around $100,000. So we're going to do a little bit of confirmation on that. Mainly what we want to do is we want to go through this property and make sure that there aren't major issues with the property itself. So I'm going to go through it just like I would. Now, if I were going to buy a house, and I pretty much always start with pictures because I'm trying to save my time and I don't want to go to every job site every time, especially if I can kill deals right from the start. And now I need to say that I don't know these neighborhoods, and there is nothing that can be stronger than knowing the actual neighborhood, being able to smell it, feel it, see where neighborhood lines change and such. I very strongly disagree with out-of-state investing unless you have moved out of a state and you know those neighborhoods. So we're going to rely on him to verify these things, which it looks like he already has. So he offered $16,500, thinking that it was offensively low, great low ball, and the guy hasn't responded yet. So that might mean that he's going to get that deal for $16,000. Sounds like a really low price, but it still could potentially be a bad deal. So, all right, here's where I would be starting. Is first and foremost, I would want to confirm some of these comps. Now, I have internal tools that I use that aren't going to be available to you guys because a lot of it is AI related, and I don't want to make that available. So here's where we're going to go. I'm going to show you right here. Basically, what I'm really looking for here, guys, is a DOA checklist. So I want to confirm my comps, and then I also want to confirm dead on arrivals. There are certain reasons that I'm never going to buy a house. So here we go. I have an estimated value of actually 108, and this is by like old school comps. This is pulling all of the potential comps in a neighborhood, which is proximity, that's inside of the neighborhood. Sold date, usually we want to go like 6 months in a hot market, 12 months if we've had like level markets for a while and we need to add a few more comps, and all the way up till 18 months. And then sold date, and then features. So we want to make sure that the house is similar to the other ones around it. So that's how I have derived the comps. And just to confirm that, proximity, how close it is to the house. This is usually by its neighborhood boundaries, but being there and feeling it, tasting it, tasting it, that's going to make you know what a neighborhood is. You can kind of tell when a neighborhood changes. Sold date, 6 months is best, 12 months. I would go up to 18 months if I need to get more of them. And then features. The house has to be similar. A split level house, maybe it has a basement, is probably not the same as a bungalow. Okay, and also you can't be comparing a house that's 1,200 square feet to a house that's 2,500 square feet. So here we go. This house, the living area says 1,290. The year built says 1896. So it's an older house. And just so you guys have an idea here, I'm going to show you some pictures. So I have 100 pictures, 103 pictures, which is great. Okay, so you see the kind of shape that this house is in. We have these grid ceilings that I'm going to talk about here in a second. Okay, outdated house, but it obviously is livable. Okay, so these are some of the things that I'm looking at right away. Sorry, this just caught my eye. I see that the wall is really close to that door, which is like an indicator that maybe somebody built a wall and there's a DIYer at play. However, this looks like pretty standard construction. So anyway, we'll get into that. I don't want to jump the gun here. And remember, guys, any questions, let me know. Okay, so now we're getting into some stuff that's stripped out here. A lot of work, okay, but no major issues that I'm seeing. Okay, I'm not going to go through all the pictures right now. Just figuring out what type of house we have here. I was hoping for getting to some outside pictures. We're going to get there here in just a second. Outside pictures. We'll get into all the structural stuff. Okay, here we go. Okay, so you're getting a sense for what the outside looks like, and good that it looks like at least this other house in the neighborhood, right? Because you don't want to compare outliers. If this house was in a neighborhood that had all single level houses and looked way different, then you have a problem on your hands. So here it is on Zillow. Okay, this is like the old school way to be looking for properties, but I can see that this one here sold for 91, this one here for 100, this one here for 105. Okay, similar. It's got the 2 stories just like that. We have, what's this one for 91? Similar. This one for 93, similar. I'm looking at construction comps right now. Okay, so you see this one didn't really get that updated and it sold for 92.5. I can see, let's go to more comps here. Remember, a comparable is proximity to the property. Okay, so we know this is in the neighborhood because the house is like right around here, and these are all in the area. Okay, and not knowing this neighborhood, I'm assuming that, you know, all this stuff around here is good to go. I want to know what this 140 is. Okay, that looks different. I don't like that as much. Similar square footage, but it looks different. Okay, so that always gets scary to me. Okay, I want sold stuff too. I don't want stuff that's on the market. I want sold. I am doing this in real time, guys. These are the questions that I would be asking myself. Obviously, if you're in your neighborhood, you should know your neighborhood really well. And, you know, so part of me right now is kind of trying to figure out the neighborhoods itself. So this is a single story. However, it's similar square footage, similar bedrooms and bathrooms. Remember, on this other property, we're at 4 beds, 1 bath. They look like they're like all built at a similar time. So I would like not consider this house an outlier yet. And you know, I don't think I'm actually going to be able to open this for you guys on my iPad. Yeah, maybe so. So I just clicked the GIS button. Okay, so I'm looking at zoning right now. And also something that I want to do, and I don't know this GIS very well, but I think that most places, at least most places that I've been, have this. So this is showing me like zoning. So this is like my DOA checklist, making sure that things are not out of, I don't have a property that's zoned differently than all the properties around it. There should also be some sort of, here we go, layers. And then I'm looking for FEMA. There we go. That's what I want. I want FEMA because what I really want to know is, are there flood zones? And dang, it's hard on this iPad here. But I can see that we're not in flood zone territory. You see how they pop up and go away. Okay, we do have some over here, but I think we're clear of them, and he would need to confirm, but I think we're around here, so we're good there. All right, so those are the DOAs that I'm checking for. A couple other things that I want to check for in DOAs, and we're going to come back to the comps themselves. DOAs, so let's see, I have some stuff pulled up. We're getting there, guys. Flip brain. What's the DOA list? Let's see if this actually works. It's in beta, guys. Search is offline, so there you go. DOA list is going to be flood zone, zoning. I want to make sure that we're not in a different zone. I want to look for setbacks on the property itself. So if I go back to my PDF here, in GIS, they're going to let's see. Different GISs work differently, and I can't really learn that one on the spot here, but this is the actual tax card for this property. Okay, so I'm just trying to find out if I have any sort of setback situation where, you know, the house is built on the lot lines. This can cause problems. This can, yeah, I've seen houses like you get permits and you actually have to tear parts of them down. So those are DOAs, guys, and usually actually in my list of doing things, I would probably do that later. I kind of went down that rabbit hole already. But first I'm doing the comps, which we've kind of proven here that the comps are right. So he's saying around $100,000. I'm saying around $100,000 after I pulled all of these. And just did a quick review. Once again, he needs to confirm for himself if they're in the right neighborhood and all those kind of things. I also I ran it through home base really quick, and to get a histogram. Okay, so I'm showing like $100,000 is on the higher end of the nice properties, but that fits. Okay, price per square foot. You know, these sell for pretty low. We're way under the median sales price, so getting an idea of the neighborhood, which is good. You like to be under the median. And then here are some of the comps that we can open up just to take a look. This is a single story one, similar square footage. And then we have, okay, so comps I'm going to agree with for now, and you're going to confirm. Now let's look at the property itself. Part of the calculation here is we need to figure out what we can pay for the house. So if we're saying $105,000 for after repair value, and he's saying that he thinks that the renovations are going to be around $50,000, we're saying acquisition price could be $25,000. He offered $16,000, so just profit here at 15% rate of return is only $12,000 putting in the pocket, but at the acquisition price of $9,000 lower, you know, he's probably going to make more like a 25% return, maybe even more. There we go. So a 30% return on his money. And if he does that in 6 months, 60,000 or 60% annualized return. So that's great if this number holds up. And the profit number itself is a little bit low. Quite honestly, that doesn't bother me. Okay, I like safety. And yes, the actual chunk of change might be lower. And yes, you're using bandwidth during that time. However, it's really safe. You know, you're not going to go very wrong unless there's some serious structural issues. So let's, no further ado, walk through the property together. And what I'm really looking for is the 4 B's: bodily harm. So this is like safety and liability, including structural stuff. Then I'm looking for bleeding. All right. I'm looking for anywhere where water intrusion is happening. Therefore, Michael, I'll get to you in a second. Bleeding anywhere water's coming in. That's basically causing more issues with structure. And then there's the baseline. So construction comps, we look through some of these comps to figure out what other people were renovating to, like what it looks like in the rest of that neighborhood, and we got the gist of it. And then the final B is the big 3. These are the few add-ons that we would do at the end to put the correct filter on. And then I'm going to get to Michael here. He said, let's see, adding to broadcast. Can't the comps be misleading if the comps were bought with cash, or 2, the buyer covered the difference between the appraisal price and the purchase price? I don't think it really matters how it was bought. It was bought that way. And if the buyer covered the difference, it is what they were willing to pay. And so to me, that's what it's worth. And that is why the histogram is important, to give you a quick view. Because when you're pulling comps manually, you tend to have some bias in it, like it's maybe not that property or maybe not that one. And even if you don't have the bias, with the unbiased, hey, here's just everything that sold in that neighborhood, I'm able to scan and see that, hey, some of these were bought in cash. They're probably the cheaper ones. And that tells me that's what I should be buying that stuff for. And then I can see the high end as well. These are what primary residents probably bought, because the highest and best use of a single family home is usually somebody that's buying it to live in it themselves. Now, in a neighborhood like this, you're going to likely have a lot higher non-owner occupants. There's going to be a lot more investors in that neighborhood. So there probably will be a lot of cash buyers. But honestly, in C-class neighborhoods like this is usually where I look to get rentals, because you get like higher than 1% rentals, and it's better for cash flow, at least on paper. And so that's what you're going to see a lot of there. But people are buying for 100 plus. So if the numbers work, the numbers work. The exit strategy is on you. Hopefully that answered your question. I think I hit what you were asking, but if I didn't, ask again if you'd like. All right, so here we go. We're going through the property, the actual pictures here. I'm just seeing, there were videos too, guys. I don't like videos usually because they, it's just hard to see stuff. Usually they're moving fast. And so let's just look at pictures here. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the pictures and kind of just think out loud, and then we'll come back and we'll build the quick scope of work just to see the pricing. So remember, the B's are what I'm looking for. Bodily harm, which is safety and liability. The bleeding, I'm looking for intrusion, things that are getting worse. And then the baseline. Compared to the rest of the houses, what type of renovations would we need to do? Is it stay as is, or is it a repair or a replacement? And ultimately what I'm trying to decide is what flip type is it? Looking quickly, I think it's probably a renovation. But here we go. This looks like a garage, hard to see in this picture. Big clean out job, I imagine. A lot of these are. I don't know why I didn't start at 1. Instead, it started at 68. So let's go all the way back to number 1 here, guys. 103 pictures, man. Somebody's getting after it. Was this you? Did you do all these pictures, or was that the wholesaler or whoever's sending these? Okay, so here we go. A little bit of work here. This is drywall work and such. Looks like somebody put in like one of those, the panel things to keep the water out. You'll see that a lot on like C-class rentals. They probably, if you open this shower curtain, this is a shower if I didn't say that. If you open that up, you'd probably see that it needs caulking around here. Big thing in a rental unit is that you want to keep water out the best you can around tubs. Water gets in a lot. And also if you're buying somebody's rental that did like, lower grade work like this, use lower grade material, you are looking for signs of bleeding around that bathtub. You're looking at the floor. Is the floor soft in front of it? And you're looking, did water get in between the tub and the panels? Nice. Ian is here. He says he's late. This is his hot seat that he was late to. Jeez. That's all good. He was finishing another walkthrough. Great. All right, so we're on the first picture, man, so you didn't miss much. I went through comps, kind of half-assed, confirmed your comps. I'm not going to sit here and go through every single comp, but the numbers that I ran quickly confirmed your 100, maybe 105 number, and you're going to know your neighborhood better than everybody else. So here we go. We're doing the walkthrough, looking through the 3 of the 4 Bs. Shower, okay, and after we do this, we're going to come back and do the scope of work. We're still in the bathtub. Always look around windows. That's where water gets in if they're not sealed properly. So you look for soft walls and drywall underneath the windows that is starting to damage. Looking for signs of bleeding. That's the second B. We're still in a bathroom / laundry room. These are places where you can kind of start looking to see. I want to see if the mechanical, electrical, plumbing is like older stuff or if somebody's come in and updated it. All right. But the fact that somebody's living in this house is already a good sign, guys. The difference between somebody living in a house and not is huge when you're buying. Because if somebody's living there, you at least know that stuff is somewhat working. When you buy a vacant house that hasn't been lived in a while, it could be a complete shit show. Okay, checking my brain on this because we're around a window and there's something happening up there. So usually around a window is a red alert that water's getting in. And the reason we're looking at this is because if there's bleeding like that, it could be more than what you see at surface level. Water could be in this wall, and that wall could be getting eaten up, and water spreads, and it could be eating more. So you could have some like wood issues on your hands or foundation issues on your hands, structural problems, and that's how cans of worms get opened. Because if you open up a wall and inspections happen, if permits happen to be pulled on something like this, anytime you open up a wall, grandfathering rules are generally bypassed. Then you have to start updating more stuff. That's why these things are even more important to me. Okay, obviously floor, but you're going to do floors throughout anyway, I'd imagine. When you see tile ceilings like this, these like ceiling panels like you would see in a commercial space, that usually happens because something bad happened to the ceiling, and especially since I saw pictures earlier that were lath and plaster instead of drywall. Most people don't know how to fix lath and plaster, therefore they do something cheap like this to cover it up. So there might have been like a plumbing leak above. We know there's 2 stories here, so I would be thinking, as I'm walking in this house, I'd be thinking, is there a bathroom above this? There's probably a bathroom above this, and then I'd start looking for signs of damage. Right? And a lot of this, like, honestly, I don't give a crap about any of it. It's just like another day in the office on the construction portion. But it is all fuel for negotiating the price of a deal. So, just thinking out loud, these are always signs for me. This was a window. That window used to look outside. it no longer looks outside. That means that somebody somewhere along the way added on to this property. Okay, that was a door. I'm not sure what's out. That was always a door. That was probably always another space, because you're not going to have 2 back doors. So that looked out. Something got built there. It might just be a covered area, and they have something leaning in front of it. But anytime I see, hey, this is how things used to be, and somebody did something, almost always somebody did something without permits, without knowledge of how to actually do it right. So then I start thinking, oh, maybe a pro DIYer is involved here. And that's when shit can truly hit the fan. Behind that window is the shower. Boom. There you go. They added that on. So not only is it some sort of add-on, structurally, it is also mechanical, electrical, plumbing of a bathroom. Sorry, you didn't see that. Add to broadcast. Ian, who knows this property, just said behind that window is the shower. Okay, so that's a red alert to me that a pro DIYer is involved. Now, that doesn't mean it's a bad deal. It just, once again, these are all boxes that I'm checking in my head as I go through things, especially as I walk through a deal, because a lot of times the deals that I get, it's direct mail. I get a call, I go on the appointment, and I'm walking through and I'm like saying these things out loud. Oh gosh, we got a window. There's a window, guys, and there's a shower behind it. So, I'm thinking somebody probably did this work. They probably messed it up. And this helps me when I get to the end of my conversation. But even working with a wholesaler, you would be talking to them about these things. Why, and you're justifying why your price is ultimately going to be lower than they're asking, because they're asking for too much money. Same thing with a realtor. If you're walking through with a realtor, you might be thinking that, well, hey, my realtor does all the negotiations with their realtor. Bullshit. Here's what happens is you're talking about the house. You're convincing them that, oh, dude, there's some things that are messed up here. And if you convince them thoroughly, then they go and convince that other person's realtor thoroughly, and that realtor then convinces their client thoroughly that, oh yeah, there really is an issue with the pro DIYer thing. All right, just so you get how the chain goes. Also, you probably get why I cut the middleman out, because I hate trusting somebody else to do my sales. Tangent. All right. Great. You're probably going to be doing, you probably paint the cabinets in this neighborhood and get away with it. Formica is probably normal in that neighborhood from the construction, the comps that I looked at. But you could update to like a butcher block and put like a nice subway tile up there or something. That'd be really cheap for you to do. I know that you're going to do some of the work yourself, but paint, new handles, new hardware, match the hardware throughout. And I'm just thinking, like, where is this kitchen when somebody walks in? So, the 4 B's we have, bodily harm, that's safety and liability. We have the bleeding, looking for water intrusion and stuff like that, that's making the house worse. We have the baseline, that's what I just talked about. And then we have the big 3, the few things that people are going to see that are going to create the filter and through which they see the rest of the house. So if this kitchen is one of the first things people are going to see when they walk in, like if this door is the entry door, I don't know that yet. I'm going to spend a lot of time landscaping out here. I'm going to make that door look nice. And then, yes, I would do a little bit extra over the baseline in this kitchen, because that's going to be the first thing they see. They're going to feel really good about the rest of the house. All right, so obviously we'd be doing new LVP floors. I'm looking around all these older windows to make sure there's not water intrusion. That doesn't mean I'm going to go replace it. You can tell that they came in and did this trim stuff like afterwards, because first room you walk into says Ian. So great. Yeah. And that's good. I love it when a kitchen is the first thing that you see, because people do expect nicer kitchens. So if you're able to use one of those as the big 3, awesome. Okay. People are going to like this, like old school doors. I mean, the house was built in friggin' 1700. So okay, a lot of cleanup to do. Obviously, a broken window. Okay, so a lot of people here are going to be thinking that, oh gosh, okay, I guess I need to replace a window. And if I were to replace this one window, wouldn't I want to replace all the windows? Because, you want them to match. Here's the thing. You replace the glass. Okay, there's windows. They have their utilities, and then they have cosmetic. We are not upgrading windows in a neighborhood where the house is going to sell for low hundred thousands. We might get up to like 120 in a neighborhood like this if we do it right, but it ain't by doing windows. Windows are going to cost you 10 grand if you do them yourself, even maybe. And you're going to open up a lot of crap when you start opening this up. So I'm thinking about, I got to get glass in there, which I can get glass. I can glaze it in. I can get it cut to size, or I can cut it to size. Single pane, not double pane. That's going to be fine in a neighborhood like this. And then I'm going to make sure that there's no water getting in. So when you glaze, you're going to take care of that. But then there's probably water getting in like all these windows around the edges. So you seal them, and I'm talking caulking. It's that simple. You just need to stop the bleeding is all. And then you need to check what damage the bleeding did. Okay, a lot of kitchen. Now we're probably... starting to get the gist. We walk into the kitchen, then we walk into this next room. They have, is that hardwood floors? Nice. If I was hiring this out, I would just have people do LVP over everything. But you're probably doing the labor yourself. You can sand those floors down and refinish them, make them look really nice. And that can be a nice little addition. Somebody tried to do something with the ceiling and sucked at it. So that's cool. Carpet. Once again, underneath that carpet, there might be hardwood floors. That's common in older houses like this, where, they just covered that crap up because at one point in time, carpet was awesome. Not as awesome, guys, as those Crocs right there. Look at that dog. House probably smells like piss. I can smell it now. I've walked in a million of them. Okay. Updating fixtures. See, I've seen this a couple times in this house now where the trim on the side is messed up. And I always get concerned that did they build this wall then? Is that what happened? Probably what happened is they thought they were going to do this sweet upgrade by putting in this fat trim and then realized, oh no, there's not enough room on this side, so I'll just cut it all down, which that's a good sign. DIYing is not a bad thing necessarily, especially when it's like trim and stuff that you can see. It's when people think they're like framers and electricians. That's when you start to get a little bit nervous. That dog is messing stuff up right there. So anyway, also notice all this dead space up here. My God, what is that? Like, is there whatever? Okay, looking for a roof leak for sure, but this is probably the first story, right? So I'm looking for a plumbing leak in that case. Or it could be a roof leak from the second story that's dripped through the floor, ruined the floor, then ruined the ceiling. But whatever, if it's just a lath and plaster that you have to patch up, but is the bleeding still going? And what other damage did the bleeding do? So, love that one. He says, it's not as bad as the one I just walked. Dude built an outhouse on their porch and is just crapping in a hole under the porch. Surprisingly, I've had one like that too. So, understood. Nice. Yeah, this one's not that bad, man. I'm just giving you a hard time. It's not that bad. I'm thinking out loud on the things that I would be looking at. And, it's common in these houses. Everybody is going to be up against this. This is like the quintessential type of flip house. What's up, Andrew? How you doing, man? We won't tell your boss you're here. This is like, somehow like flip houses, you're going to be in B-class neighborhoods, but a lot of them are going to be C-class like this as well. Nothing wrong with this house. The fact that it's livable already, we love. Here's the thing though. Look at this. That's a heater. Okay. So HVAC. And now I'm thinking HVAC. Is something messed up with the HVAC? Or are they just sissies and cold all the time? Who knows? You find out. But, am I seeing any vents anywhere else? Look at that. I told you it was going to smell like piss in there. That's a doggy training pad. Always smells like piss in there. Ian's given us information on this house as we go, which will help us assess it further. Yeah, so there's an old small bathroom upstairs that isn't functional, and they must have just added it behind the kitchen. Old small bathroom upstairs above the kitchen. Is this when I was talking to you about the kitchen, how I suspected that there was probably plumbing that had been leaking at some point up there? Look at this. We got another. Okay. That's either a printer right there or an AC. And most printers don't have the exhaust here. So, grabbing cold air from outside. So, anyway, or pushing air outside. Sorry. Once again, is it underperforming? Are they sissies? We don't know. People like that AC. That's tape because, is that tape because water's getting in or bugs? Yeah, I think that's likely the issue on the ceiling, is what Ian just said about the bathroom being above the kitchen. Just wanted you to know that's further proof, Ian, that I definitely have x-ray vision. It's clear. It's now clear to me. All right, so same thing here. Is that just a shitty trim job, or did they build something in here? Probably just bad trim. I always look for people opening up the wall right here because, no central air, just heat. Got it. But you're up, this is in Ohio. Maybe not everybody has central air there. Is that a normal thing, or is that an outlier thing? Like, are people going to expect air? And if you added that to your scope of work, these are the questions that I'd be asking. And by the way, this is Ian's hot seat. However, any of you other people out there, ask the questions. This is the time. Okay, lots of drywall patching and repairing, which is not a big deal at all. It's where the patching and repairing came from. And also, it's not drywall, though, guys, not drywall. When you buy houses that are older like this, they're most likely done in lath and plaster. That means that they put these laths, these strips of wood, and then they put chicken wire over that, and then they actually plaster it by hand. People actually knew how the hell to do things back in the day. I'm not one of those like they don't build them like they used to, but they did have skills that they don't anymore. That's for sure. Okay, somewhat common. Ian says it's somewhat common to not have AC there, which is good enough for me. That means that house is not getting AC. I'm guessing, just based on our conversation so far, that this was the old bathroom that is now defunct, most likely because it was leaking all over the. Oh wait, no, that's the top of a staircase. Interesting. So what do we got here? Got some electrical. They're probably having issues. That's why that's torn open like that. Hopefully you got some budget for some electrical. Oh, there we go. They gave me a close-up. Yeah, hopefully you have some budget for some electrical or know how to do it, because there's going to be some things, no doubt. Beautiful. Look at this. Okay, so this is tile. This would indicate that this is or was a bathroom. Right? Is this the bathroom that's above the kitchen? The mysterious. Okay. Cool. Water is getting in. Is the roof newer, or is that repair or most likely replacement on your list? Because it seems like that's going to be a problem for you. Okay. All normal stuff. Lots of patchwork. Lots of patchwork. Okay, so listen, here's the gist, is that you, in the upstairs, there's cosmetic stuff. You know, you got the AC issue that we decided nothing about. You know, we're not going to do the AC because there's heat. People need heat. They don't need AC. And if other houses aren't selling with it, don't worry about it, is what I would be thinking. I'm looking at that roof, okay? And I know that there's siding issues. All right, so there's cosmetic work. All right, but Ian here is doing the work himself, a lot of the labor himself. And so, you know, whatever. It's up to you how your bandwidth should be spent. But nothing looks terrifying. It's just a lot of work. All right, so you're going to know your numbers better than me on that. It's like you try to not have to do new material as much as possible, but I mean, your labor number is going to be basically nothing. So once again, it's just a bandwidth issue. Do you want to put your bandwidth into this project? Because it'll take, you know, weeks, months of your time to do all that work. Fine. You know, I think you should because of the experience you get doing something like that. Okay, but now we're in the basement. So we're going to get into like the real structural stuff, the real like deal killer type of things with a house. So that's what I'm looking for now. Might make it, you know, beyond your capabilities, which I don't actually know your capabilities, but most people, this would be beyond. Most people can figure out the cosmetic stuff if they want to bad enough. Okay, here we go. It's interesting that there is a sink down here, which means you have plumbing down there. You got a floor drain maybe. Okay, not seeing any issues yet though. The brick, you know, you look at the mortar between the bricks, like a lot of times on these older houses, like stuff is failing a lot worse than this. So it looks old, but nothing wrong with it. Okay, you got cast iron with, you see that they did repairs off of it because it changes the PVC. And here's the deal, guys, a lot of times this old, oh yeah, dude, Andrew, share screen, he says, and he was absolutely right. I don't know how many you missed. Okay, thanks. Here, I'm going back. I'm not seeing anything here. I'm saying the brick looks old, but it's fine. And now I'm to this cast iron, right? And a lot of times people, like your contractors who have the nasty, nasty sickness that I call new builderitis. It's a virus. It's rampant in this game. They will tell you have to tear that stuff out. It's no good. You got to get new. A lot of times, you know, because it's a lot easier than figuring things out to just tear stuff out. But it works, guys. Here's how I know. Does anybody on this call, tell me in the comments, see a pile of crap on the floor here? No, I didn't think so. Seems like it's working to me, right? If it's working in right there, it's probably working under the ground. Because if it wasn't, you would know it because you could smell it. Okay, now, here's the thing. If you have permits pulled and you do this, what they're going to require in most municipalities that I've been in is a water test, which basically means that you're going to plug up all of those sewer lines. You know, you're going to put balloons in them or plugs, and then you have to fill it with water all the way to the top, highest point, you know, the vent stack. And there ain't a damn thing I've ever found that doesn't have like a pinhole leak in it. And then you start fixing the pinhole leak, and then you find another one because you start moving that stuff around that's 80 years old, and stuff's going to happen. But when it's just sitting there, it's fine, because once again, I don't see a pile of dump on the floor, so it seems like it's good to me. There's also the can of worms that I often talk about. Ian, you don't have an issue here. I'm just letting everybody know. It was the perfect opportunity. This looks fine to me. It looks fine thus far. Is it perfect? No. Would this be what you'd expect out of a new? Probably not. I'm not sure yet. We're going to find out. Okay? Newer water heater. And how I know is it's not rusted into oblivion. So it's newer. Right? I'm joking, but I'm not. Okay, you got galvanized water lines here. Depending on where you're at, that's a no-no. So when I was in Denver, they would basically, as soon as you touched anything, actually, if I remember correctly, you didn't even have to touch it. If you just pulled permits and had galvanized water lines in that house, they would make you tear it all the way out to the road, to the city tap, which is usually out by the road. So that was always a big danger in projects there. Obviously, that's like a $2,000 job or something like that, maybe even more. Water lines throughout the house. So you need to look that up in your municipality. We are going to get to permits, though, by the end of this. Ian, don't you worry. Okay. So, water. Good. Oh, look at that. New. I love seeing PVC because then new crap happened. And, it's like clean. It's cleanish looking, which means that probably done professionally. So that's great. Hey, look at that. We got a new panel. You don't see a bunch of like snakeskin wires coming out of the panel. You see newer Romex. These are good signs. We like that. Don't know what's going on there. I'd look into that a little further. Okay. Great. Am I sharing my screen? I sure am. Yeah, we got new Romex. Nice little dungeon. If you pull permits, they would make you put rails up those stairs. Okay, not seeing any structural issues. However, I'm not a structural engineer. If you wanted further evidence of that or confirmation, you would hire an engineer. I don't do that on my personal properties because I like to make my own decisions. Looks just like some damage. I'm always looking where that come from. Okay, we got MC cable and newish wire on rail breakers that are more modern. Great. Somebody did something. Hopefully not DIY. It looked a little too professional to be total DIY. You could put new roof over that. I would guess that stuff's probably rotten. I would be inclined to just tear it down and get it out of the way because it's not adding any value. It's a money call there. Okay, like I was saying, the siding's going to need work, but it's just work. Okay, now that we're outside, I'm looking for signs of water intrusion. That's the main thing I'm looking for on the outside. Looking around the windows. Remember, we were always looking inside of the window. Like on the inside, we were looking at the drywall. We're looking for softness underneath the windows. I'm also looking for these signs on the outside. When wood starts to get rotten, they're usually the siding's nailed into the studs. Therefore, if I can start like pressing them underneath the windows, then I know that the wood underneath there has gotten rotten and the nails aren't holding anymore. Those are the types of things, that are cans of worms. That's why I'm looking at that. Oh, this is the picture from the thumbnail, guys, right here. I circled this little area, indicating mostly for you guys to wonder what that was, so you would watch this video with me. but there is some water that's hitting right here. So you see like all this splash up. Okay, I can see splash up on here. That means water's getting in there. It's ruined this wood. This is from your HVAC. That's newer. That's great. This here is some work has been done on the electrical, so that's cool. And this is really high. If this was lower, you usually would need like a weatherhead that goes up, but this is good there. We're safe. I'm actually impressed with the work that's been done to the electrical. I would have expected a house that looks like this to have like much older MEPs. But anyway, there's this water splash up. I want to know where the heck that's coming from and if it's done any damage. We haven't seen any damage from anything else. So I think that we're probably good. Okay, I think that you can see like all this green here. It must just be from, you know, the trees and such, water coming down the side of this. You know, there's no like real stoppage here, so it must just be all splat. You know, it's got a long way to fall, so it splashes back up is all I can think. So I think that we're good there, especially if there's no further damage, you know, that's been sitting there for 400 years. Okay, cool. Looking around the windows, always. It's got a nice front, you know, some character. You can make that the big three here. You know, you pressure wash that wood. I'm not sure if you need that lattice there, but you spruce up this a little bit. Could be good. Could be nice. Great neighborhood houses here. Maybe, you know, in the, okay, so with the big three that we talk about, see, this is a major road, so I imagine that they're not actually coming up this way. Is that right? And if that's right, okay, I'll scratch what I said about the front, because it's like I want to create the filter based on the way they're going to approach the property. And if this is not the way they're approaching the property, no thanks. You know, not that I wouldn't do the baseline, but I'm saying that I'm not going to go above and beyond there. All right, looks like nobody can park there. It's great that this isn't like old and rotten. I'm surprised by that too. A couple good wins. Once again, looking at the drainage here. Okay, similar issue. The Ian says the front is facing the road where you can't park at all. You'll enter from the back driveway near the kitchen. Okay, so that's where we're going to be thinking about updating things. Oh, that tall ass chimney is concerning to me. Is that sturdy? And also, always around big protrusions like this is where you're going to find the water leaks. So, you know, I would whatever's underneath there, I would be looking. And then the also, if I was redoing this, I don't know, is the chimney still there? You know, like the fireplace on the main level, wherever that was inside of the house, I'd be thinking that if the mortar's starting to go away in here, and I'm going to be doing the roof, which, you know, we haven't confirmed yet, but if I had the mortar going away, so the thing didn't seem so sturdy, and I was doing the roof already, I would probably just tear that damn thing down and then roof over it, unless there's actually a fireplace on the inside that people are wanting to use, just as you think through the framework of how I would look at these things. Okay. Got a big yard here. You know, this sucks here that you got this second building, this outbuilding, and you know, it's not like I would want that if I was living there for sure. So there's value to it, but it looks like it's like bowed a little bit. And also it just looks derelict as can be. So, I mean, maybe once you just like fix the siding, all of a sudden it's better. Okay, but I've also been known to tear those things down because it is cheaper to do it that way. But I hate tearing down buildings, so I think this one's salvageable. It's salvageable. Okay, but you're going to have to do the work here. If you're going to keep this thing, you're going to have to do the work. This is the first thing they're going to see. So you got to clean it up. You know, especially if you're selling it. If you're renting it, it'd be different. But if you're selling this has to look good. I'd bring in some new rock here. I'd probably, you know, tidy up that fence. If not, like do a white picket, you know, or like cedar type of, not cedar, but like the wood. Okay, and then the back has to look right. Now, you know, I talk about roofs a lot in if it ain't leaking, it ain't broke kind of thing. And, you know, things like roofs and sidings, they have utility, which means they're not leaking. If I have that done, then the only thing left is cosmetic. So a roof could look really crappy, but not be leaking. And I'd, in a lot of cases, just leave it. I might clean it. You know, I've cleaned them before. You know, they do like soft washes and make them washes and make them look really good. But there are also times where it like comes into play in my big three thinking, that it's like, okay, they're going to be walking up. This is the picture that they're going to see. What if they see an old crappy looking roof with this scary looking chimney? That is playing into the big three, the filter through which they see the rest of the house. So I'm going to have to do some stuff back here. I need to make this look less like just a hole in the house and more like something that's inviting. I need to think through this from a cosmetic standpoint if utility is, you know, already covered. Okay. And I'm going to have to think about that garage because of it. So, you know, certainly if you were hiring this out, there's some work to be done here. Okay. It would get expensive. I would bet that this would probably be an $80,000 renovation were you hiring it out. And obviously, you know, at that point, it's not that great of a deal. However, it's still safe. All right. You're still safe. That's the great thing about buying a $16,000 house. You like, your wins might not be huge as far as the number goes, but you also aren't going to get torn apart if things went bad. So you're doing the work yourself, and you're thinking it's going to be more like 50. And by the way, that's going to be a really hard thing to figure out here because definitely my calculator is not built for DIY work. But I do want you to, you know, so consider the bandwidth change out. I like the safety part, but you're going to be on this thing. That's going to take you 6 months, dude. I would imagine, because you're going to find things in an old house like that. You're always going to find things, which is great to get a bid on because they're going to find things and there's going to be a bid on it. But, you know, these are considerations. There are definitely going to be things that go further than you expect, but you're in a safe deal. Okay. So here we go. Mechanical HVAC. We don't think we're doing much here. Okay. So, I always put a little bit of a budget. I'm calling this a renovation, guys, because it's not a gut. Remember, I'm just going to do this for anybody who hasn't seen me do the scale of livability 1 million times. This is, the livability threshold. This is the range of comps for this particular property. We're saying around 105. This is what your realtor will tell you the house is worth, the broker's price opinion. Okay. In a house that is livable but outdated is right here. Okay. And then from there to there is a cosmetic. Okay. But we have some things, right? So a house that is just to the left of this, it's not livable. All right. Livable means that the bank would lend on it for a primary resident. So you could have a house that is being lived in, but might not be technically livable. I would also call this a slumlord house. Okay, because it probably shouldn't be lived in, but it is being lived in. But what you're doing is now you're moving this over the line. But generally here with like the big stuff, like hey, we're getting there. The big stuff, the replacements, you're going to be more at replacement than you're going to be at repair. That's the big difference with a renovation versus a cosmetic. A cosmetic, you're going to have like really low on the quick 6, and you're going to have mostly repairs on the replacements. Auto ads are going to be the same throughout. So I would call this more of a renovation. However, I would not call it a gut. Because a gut means that you are having to take off all the drywall, and then you're opening yourself up to a lot of other things. Okay, and just be careful here, because what I call the mirage. The mirage is when you think that you've bought something here in the slumlord status that would need a renovation pushed forward into the range of comps. You think you bought that, but then you get in and the can of worms starts to get opened, and you actually have bought yourself a gut job, a bombed out house. You got to tear down the drywall, and then you got to add all these expenses that you didn't account for. I do not believe you're in that situation. The situation really arises if there's a bunch of damage inside of the walls and you have to open that stuff up, or if there's big, mostly electrical and or plumbing inside of the walls that needs renovated. So I think that you're good here, and I think that you're in a renovation based on what I can see in pictures. It was your job to confirm all of those things. Anyhow, here we go, the big moment. Even if I don't think I have to do a single thing to the HVAC, I'm putting a repair budget on it. Electrical, I think I do need to do some things here. Not a replacement, okay, just a repair, but I think the repair is going to be a little bit higher. Okay, so I'm going all the way up on that guy. Oh, by the way, I didn't do the property setup. What was this? It was like a 1,300 square foot house. It had 2 baths and 0 half baths, if I remember correctly. It's actually got 1 bath, but we'll probably put that old one back in. Okay, plumbing. I know that I'm going to have some issues with the plumbing as well, just because it's got that old cast iron. We saw the galvanized. We're likely going to have to do some stuff, but we're not going to replace it all. But we're up in the repairs, and we got a little bit of extra budget because of this guy right here. I might even, just to be on the safe side, crank that up a little bit as well, just because in an older house, things like that are going to happen. However, structural stuff, I saw nothing. Okay, nothing stood out as bad. It's potentially a problem that it has been bleeding inside of the walls and the bad old siding and windows, and there's going to be a little bit to do. So let's just keep a little repair budget on here. Okay, not huge, but a little repair budget. If I had a really big job to do, I would go replace and I would crank that thing up. But I don't think I do, so I'm just going to keep it right here. Roofing, we're probably replacing that. Okay, sorry. And I got the chimney deal. We'll talk. Ian says 1 bath on the auditor site. The second one is probably not permitted. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that here in just a second. Siding and windows. It's repairs. Okay, you're doing the labor, so hard to say here. I mean, truly, the material is probably not going to cost you very much. All right, but if you're like bidding this out, and that's how I'm going to build this for now. It's going to be high. It's probably going to be higher than 2,700. Okay. Drywall, you're going to have repairs throughout. I'm also cranking that budget because there's all kinds of crap in there. Insulation, I think we're good. Demo, there's going to be demo, no doubt. We'll also, in the extras, add some clean out. LVP flooring throughout, you got it. Interior paint throughout, you got it. Probably even a little bit costlier. That way I can account for some of this drywall repair that I missed out on. Hardware and fixtures, yep. I'd want to. I always like to keep things matched up throughout. All the light fixtures, the plumbing fixtures, doors, hinges, and stuff. That really adds a lot to a house. So I pick one. Satin nickel. Maybe it's a black matte, oil rub bronze, but you match them throughout. That gives people a good feeling. Landscape basic. Yeah, we'll do a little bit more there because we got some stuff to do outside. Handyman budget, I always like to crank that thing up. Construction cleanup, and probably a little low to start there. Okay, so trim and doors, repair, not replace. Cabinets, we're repairing. We decided to paint those suckers, and that's probably even a little high. There's not very many of those. Look at that. I'm moving the slider down today. Trim and doors actually looked fairly decent as well, but kitchen countertops, it's going to cost you less than that because it's small. There wasn't much of them. Backsplash, yep. Kitchen appliances, okay. Shower tub, we got a couple of them. Okay, but it looks like an insert type of neighborhood. Vanities, okay. Exterior paint. Ian says one weird thing to note is no ceiling lights upstairs, all sconces on the wall. It's weird because somebody wired something weird, but from a value perspective, I'm telling you, man, that my belief is so strong from experience that they already made a decision by the time they got up there whether they're buying that house or not. All you got to do is make sure that it's not something so crazy that it unsells them. If they made it to the upstairs, they're probably already sold. Okay, so yeah, that's not a super crazy thing. In fact, most business, people in the business wouldn't even notice that as a thing. Some might see it as a cool thing. Gutters, you actually did have gutters. They might need some repairs. Framing modification, nope. Fence, yeah, we're going to add some budget for a fence. We're going to add some budget for a garage door. We are going to add a budget for clean out and crank that thing up. It's likely going to be even more than that. And because I don't have a space for it, this is how I work my machine here, is I'm going to add a little bit for, that garage in the back is what I'm thinking about. And here we go. $68,000 is what it is telling me if I was hiring it out. Ian's planning on doing some work himself. Will he save $18,000? His guesstimate was about $50,000. Yeah, absolutely. Probably save a lot more than that. Material. That's the beauty of flipping a house versus the new builders out there is that it's you're saving material. I mean, hey, you're like green, dude. You are recycling the material that's already there. You are supplying little new material and reusing the stuff that's there by using your brain. And that's great. Okay, so here we go. $68,830. Look at that. It's already in there in the flipping calculator. After repair value, we think is 105. Might be a little bit higher. Okay, acquisition price would say $6,082. But remember, we think that Ian can do it for $50,000. So acquisition price of $25K. Now, this is important, cash needed. So this is basically figuring in like hard money, the 12% interest rate, cost to close it, 2%, cost to sell it, 7%. Ian's a realtor, so he's going to save some money there, I believe. And yeah, maybe. Or if you were for selling by owner, points on the loan for. But I keep all this crap in here because it's the green air. Yeah. The hold time 6 months. I bet you're working on the thing a little bit longer. But anyway, even guys, if I don't have this. Even if I was paying in cash, so I'd have no points, I'd have no interest rate, even though my wife next door is the realtor. I look at all that stuff as a separate company, right? I'm the lender. If I'm given my cash, I could have invested it elsewhere and got 12% or whatever. And so I still consider all of those costs. And then I look at myself as the real estate investor. I'm going to make $12,000. Is that a good enough return for me? Like I said, I like the safety of this deal. I like getting in the game. I like all the intuition that you get on the backside. So, and it's not that, because you're not getting it for 24 or 25. So your rate of return really, here we go, acquisition price of around 16, you're getting a 30% rate of return. So $22,000 in profit. And what if you're able to, just get just a little bit more for that house? What if you are able to do it for just a little bit less? Okay. And let's be honest here. What if you don't have to pay the realtor fees? And what if you, get a little bit of a better interest rate, or not any at all? What if you do get it done in 6 months? Now you're looking at a lot bigger profit. Okay. And we do everything conservatively. That's the, you always want to be on the safe side here, guys. You, don't want to get aggressive with those things. If you conservatively underwrite a deal and it's still a deal, then there you go. I had a couple more notes. So max allowable offer. Yeah, I think you're good on the 16 grand. You cannot go terribly wrong with a house that's this cheap. You're not going to hit any home runs, but if you look at the philosophy of the solo house flipper, base hits win ball games, baby. Moneyball rules. In the movie Moneyball, Billy Beane just wanted to get somebody on first base by any means necessary. And then statistically speaking, you would win over the long term. That's exactly the philosophy of buying real estate. Is a $20,000 profit? Fine. $30,000? Fine. On a little bit of money, the lower risk, and you get that reward, great. I think that your risk to reward ratio is phenomenal. And then the intuition that you get on the back end, great. Now, the permitting. Well, here's the thing, guys. I think that I probably should not say this publicly. This would be something that I might... This would be something I would tell you in the private mastermind, exactly what I would do here. So I'm going to be a little wishy-washy, okay? And especially since this is on YouTube as well. Here's what I think about it, is I think that I've made a lot of videos about how permitting will open up some cans of worms. And I think that while we are going through that, I pointed out some of the potential cans of worms. Also, by the way, guys, if you have comments and questions and stuff, I see you guys out there. Hit me, because I'm about to wrap up. So if there's not questions in there, I might not see them. I know there's a delay and such. Andrew told me. Okay, so I pointed out some of those issues with the permitting and such, and they're real. So your budget could go up quite a bit higher if some of those cans of worms get opened. And I'm not saying that I would ever suggest that you don't pull permits if you absolutely need to pull permits. And I'm definitely not suggesting that you should do any shoddy work and let it go. Okay. But I am saying that there's some stuff inside of those walls for sure. If you were to call the city and say, hey, what should I do with this? They would say, oh, you should tear your house down and build a new one, is basically what they would say. And you have to take that into account. And I would say that if I was looking at that house, I would say, well, I don't actually see anything that needs that necessarily needs permits. I see a lot of cosmetic work, and from what I understand, cosmetic work is not needed to have permits. And it seems like the repairs that were necessary on the mechanical, electrical, plumbing had already happened. So seems like I'm good to go, unless somebody tells me different. I might think that. And I might also make sure that I'm just going to leave it at that, guys. I didn't see any questions come through. And Ian, you probably want my definitive answer here. I do not think the deal is bad. I do think that you are going to be spending a lot of time there, and it's going to, suck up your bandwidth for a little while. And the profit as a number is not huge, but once again, there's some safety in that one because of that same thing. And I personally, if you saw my video on my road to becoming a millionaire, dude, I didn't make a lot of money on any of my first deals. But I learned a lot, and I finally had so much intuition and skills in my toolkit that it made it freaking easy. And you're going to get a lot of intuition on this one. You're going to gain a lot of skills. You're going to gain that experience. And so, yeah, I think it's great. And one deal is just as good as another one. And so, if it works for you, it works for you. If you feel confident about the ARV number, if you feel good about the things that we just said about the scope of work, awesome. I'll tell you for sure this is what I found out in mentoring people is I can tell almost immediately which ones are going to be successful and which ones aren't, because the ones that are going to be successful, they're tuned for action. And the ones that aren't, sit there and think things through and keep thinking things through and need to do X, Y, and Z before they take this step. They'll start Monday because they got to do these other things. And then there are some of you that I mentor that are just like action, action, action. And I'm like, yo, dude, slow down a little bit. But it turns out those guys are always the successful ones because they get their intuition, their skills a heck of a lot faster. Do they get some road burn, some road rash along the way? Hell yeah. So did I. I'm still here. You will be too. So good stuff. Anybody else? Ian, I got your message. You're welcome. Thank you for your contribution to the solo house flipper community. Anybody else? Anybody? All right. I'm signing out in 5 seconds. 1. Sorry, started counting. That's what I do with my kids. It's just in my nature. All right. See you guys. Thank you.